Hello, everyone. Welcome back to New Comic Book Day Book Club, also known as uh, the discussion where I act like an ostrich and put my head in the ground and ignore what's going on in the world and talk about comics.
I think that's the centerpiece of all of my social media.
Yeah, I
It's been
think
that way since this whole thing started. So
the centerpiece of this show and my channel as a whole is just let's talk about comics and ignore everything else.
yeah. Hey, happy finishing the 6 full years we've done this. So 6 year, we just passed that 6 year anniversary. This is the beginning of season 7.
I feel like I've aged 1,000 years.
I got my 9-4 is near mint shirt on.
Yeah, that's a nice looking shirt. Where can you get that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know that there's a link anywhere that's active.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's still on TeePublic, but I don't know what the link is.
I mean, I should have worn the Susan Speck shirt. But
Yeah, I don't think I've sold one since you.
I'm the only person who owns the Susan Speck shirt.
You
And
might be.
bright
I didn't even get a Susan Speck for myself.
So yes,
anyway.
I want to just thank you for doing this. It's been a life-changing experience doing this. I feel like it's impacted.
That can mean a lot of things.
I mean, in a very positive way. I'm not trying to be too sarcastic. Hi, TJ.
Hey, TJ. It is Thursday. John had a
soccer and volleyball double booking. Really, is what it was.
Another engagement that he values more than my friendship, his own daughters, which fair.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I feel like this has impacted obviously my collecting in this hobby. It's impacted my joy of reading these books in a huge way. And it's impacted my friendship circle. I think, obviously you first and foremost, but I think so many people I've made friends with due to this program. So I am incredibly grateful for the day that you reached out and said, "Hey, let's join Jamokes together and talk
I
picture
can
books."
Pick out a fellow Jamoke from a mile away. Yeah, I mean, it certainly affected my collecting as well, mostly in spending more money than I probably should on comic books because it's I mean, I've been better, but for a while it was that, that competition, even though there's not a competition, it's like, oh, I got to get a book to show off that's as good as the book I just saw on Instagram. And,
or we got to find an issue number 1 to talk about this week. Is there another Guardians issue 1? Is there another X-Men issue 1? Is there another Batman?
God. Well, hey, there is actually another Batman, and we're talking about it tonight.
We got it. Yeah.
But yeah, happy 6 years. I'm glad that you stuck with me. It's the second longest relationship I've ever had.
Hey, there you go. I'm feeling good about. Wait, are you counting pets?
No.
I think you got some ones that would be.
Well, pets are basically prisoners.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they don't really have a choice about
friendship against their will.
Yeah.
Yes, Kyle, you're right. Leave extraordinary Jamokes.
Extraordinary Jamokes. That's a shirt. I
don't even know that I've ever seen that word spelled. I've only heard it spoken.
Jamoke.
I've never seen Jamoke spelled. I hope that that's the way you spell it because that's how I pictured it.
Yeah, I would think so. All right. Well, let's get on with the show. We're talking about the first 2 Absolute books that came out from DC. Absolute Batman by
Snyder.
Nick Dragotta and Scott Snyder, and Absolute Wonder Woman by Hayden Sherman and Kelly Thompson. Right there. So, should we just talk about them in order of release?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I also read, so I was told by some DC fanboys to read the All In issue 1 or whatever that was like the prelude to the Absolute books. don't know if that makes sense to you. There was it was an issue focusing on the Justice League and kind of like how they are connected to this other universe in kind of loose form. So I did read that one, which also came out in October. But we don't have to talk about it. I honestly felt like it was unrelated unless I wanted all the little minutia.
Yeah, I did not read that, so you can talk about it if you'd like, but I will sit in silence.
It was fine. It wasn't great. It was basically like, it felt like a event comic issue 0, where it was just like, here's all these people, here's how they all connected, here's what's going on.
About,
yeah, but don't worry, you can read Absolute Carnage issue 1 and kind of get it all. But if you want more info, here's the book. So I didn't love it.
It's
more nice White Whale is always a good thing.
I would love to go back on the hunt. The problem is that I'm old and it's late. Like it started like 11 my time, and I just have Tony reach out to me, and we'll see.
So Callie, I don't know if you know John. That's another John from California. He's kind of become the hunt booking agent. It's amazing. He booked me to go against Raul Hialeah, Comic Bro.
So it's like becoming real wrestling. They have agents and bookers.
So Hialeah and I had an amazing bout. I had a lot of fun, and I still claim, I won 3 out of the 5 rounds, so I did really well. But it was a lot of fun, and so he's kind of organizing stuff. So if watch for him in your DMs.
DM me. We'll see if we can figure something out. I do enjoy that. I enjoy the fellas that do it. So if I can get my ass to stay awake long enough.
And Tony's been a guest on this show. I think Tony's been on a guest on this show a couple of times at least. We did an X-Men 1 together early on, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Absolute Batman #1. What do you think? Do you want?
I'm happy to get into it if you want. I'll go first. So for those that don't know, each of these books is kind of like an alternate DC universe where the power of Darkseid has kind of kept the traditional story arc for our favorite Justice League characters from existing the way we know it. In this case, we have a Bruce Wayne whose parents were not billionaires. They were workaday folks doing their best to raise a young lad in Gotham.
It's for lack of a better comparison, it's their answer to the Ultimate line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like kind of a retelling of characters, not necessarily in an Elseworld sense, but in just like I don't know what it is. I guess it's
does feel like another
alternate universe. It's not in continuity. So
no. And in this case, Bruce still has the tragic death of a parent, singular backstory. We learn at the very end that mom's still alive. He lost dad, and that he is working jobs, blue collar jobs all through Gotham to gain an understanding of, the sewer systems, the road building systems, all the little like elements of how the city is managed and run, so that he has the pulse of all the different pieces of the city, crime and the law. And he's on his own been kind of designing a methodology of battling crime, much like Bruce does in our universe. And he on the other side of the spectrum, we have an Alfred who is still a government agent, because he was in our universe too. He was like an
he was MI6 or something.
MI6, right? But this seems more CIA to me. And he is on a mission to better understand the crime in Gotham as well. And he is sent there to deal with that element and this new crime fighter making a name for himself in the area. And so there seems to be a little bit of friction already at the beginning between this version of Alfred and Batman. Right. he admires Batman when he sees him in action and doesn't feel the need to interject. He kind of is liking what he's doing, but at the same time, his mission orders seem to contradict that impulse.
Right. His mission orders are specifically to stop this vigilante.
Right.
Right. If I remember correctly.
Yeah. It becomes, it doesn't start as that, but I think it becomes that.
Right.
And then
I think that's like one of the bigger differences. I mean, obviously, Bruce not growing up a billionaire and not having both of his parents being killed and only have his dad being killed, but him not having a previous relationship with Alfred is a very weird dynamic, and I wonder how they're going to resolve that. But
because it does feel more like a Commissioner Gordon in Batman Year One relationship than a traditional Alfred relationship. And this Bruce is far more I don't know how to describe it. He feels more like a brute in the sense that he is not only just the way Dragotta draws him as this sort of hulking
he is
figure, but he also has like an axe and he's chopping guys' hands off and stuff. He's far more aggressive in that regard.
Right.
And which I do have a question for the chat. I'm waiting for someone to explain to me why Batman doesn't use a baseball bat, but uses an axe instead. But we'll get to that I don't understand that logic.
Type of bat.
Like, I just don't like you're the Batman. Get a fucking bat. Just hit somebody.
Casey Jones has.
He's already taken that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's already. But he's got the hockey mask. I'm confused by that as well. Like, you got the hockey mask, get the hockey stick. Why are we using the bat? I don't get that
he's
either.
Got that too. He's got a whole bag of.
He does. He has golf clubs too, right? Doesn't he have golf clubs? Yeah. So, the real crux of this is just kind of laying the groundwork to understand how the city's a little different now, how Alfred's different now, and how Bruce is different now. It's a battle axe. Mark, I get you. You're funny. We can get into issues of it. Is there more plot that you want to cover before we get into
Well, I mean, I guess we should talk about the twist at the end.
Okay.
That they keep referencing this guy Alfred was pursuing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that you meant the twist that his mom was still alive. Okay.
No,
sorry.
So they talk about the fact that Alfred was pursuing this international criminal that he got pulled away from to come back to Gotham to do this mission. And that criminal turns out to be the Joker. Basically.
But he's like a rich millionaire Joker, right?
Right. He's not.
Isn't he like an industrialist or something?
Right. And he's called the Joker because he never laughs.
Right.
So it's kind of a
last page villain reveal.
Yeah, it is a last page villain reveal. But at least it is not like a last page villain reveal in the sense of like, here's the issue. Oh, and by the way, here's the last page with a villain on it. Like you're led up to that point, so it wasn't quite as offensive to me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's still I rolled my eyes at it.
It's a subtle difference. It's subtle. Yeah. So I'll hit on that note right off the bat. Like, hard to cut off hands with a baseball bat is my point. Like, why does he need to cut? So I guess my frustration with this in general is, why do we always have to take the DC universe and try to make it grittier, try to make it darker, like try to make it heavy? Like, I don't get the purpose of going another deeper, darker night. Like, it gets stupid to me. And that's where I felt I came out of this in a lot of ways, was like, there were drawings of Batman doing the splits in midair like Jean-Claude and kicking two guys. And I'm like, he looks 500 pounds. Like, he can't do this. And then he's chopping guys' hands off and telling them to get surgery and get it put back on. It felt cartoony to me and kind of stupid to me. So I'm glad. And it could be that I'm very like tired of Batman. And I feel like all that DC has with Batman nowadays is just like, hey, we'll make him darker by combining him with the Joker. Hey, we'll make him darker by having him kill people with machine guns. Hey, we'll make him darker by chopping people's hands off. It's not like we're getting any more interesting character. We're just getting more graphic.
Yeah. So I didn't not enjoy this issue, right? But it also suffers wildly from what I have dubbed Snyder syndrome, which is
Zach,
it's
I'm
so
assuming you mean
Scott.
Zack Snyder or Scott? Oh, you mean Scott Snyder? I thought you meant like the Zack Snyder.
No.
Oh,
Scott,
okay.
Scott Snyder syndrome.
From Scott Snyder's style.
Because it is so goofy, but I don't know if he knows that it's goofy. Because it is not presented in a way that is like there's no wink in it, right? But like you said, him doing the splits, him pulling his horns off to become knives, his cape being like Spawn's cape.
Yeah.
Like it's all just like you said, it's cartoony, but I feel like he's trying to be Frank Miller.
Oh, it's absolutely a love letter to Miller. They even all the like the cover A for the next issue is an homage to Batman Year One cover.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely feels like his love letter to Miller.
That made me have, and again, I call it Snyder syndrome because I feel like this way about a lot of his work where I have trouble enjoying it as much as I could otherwise because I don't know what his intention for the tone is. Does that make sense?
You mean like he's taking himself very seriously and not noticing how over the top it is.
Goofy as hell. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the difference between, I guess it's that Joel Schumacher line, right? Where sometimes he's like, is Joel serious? Is he having a laugh or is he serious? I feel like Schumacher walked that line sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So I posted a thing on YouTube and on TikTok about it. I did not hate it. I just have a ton of fatigue for it, and I don't feel like it was very good. Like I don't feel like it was great. It was just I don't feel like it was very good. It was nowhere near great, which is what a lot of people were calling it. It was like this amazing thing, and I just it felt
I've heard
there were laughable that one when he's doing the splits was laughable to me. Like I saw that panel and I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make him a bruiser Hulk, he's got to fight like a bruiser Hulk. You can't give me that he's an acrobat. Like it doesn't work. If you want him to be the barbarian with the giant battle axe beating the brains into these guys, I would buy it. But then you also have him being the acrobat, and that's just ridiculous. Now I'm just laughing at it.
I don't dislike Nick Dragotta's work. I disliked it on this book.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. It's not suited to this very well.
It is, again, very has a cartoony sense to it that kind of doubled down on this idea that I'm talking about.
Yeah. And John, I agree. Yeah, cartoony is G.I. Joe firing all those bullets and never hitting anything.
Yeah. The bulk of Bruce, he looked like the Incredible Hulk. It was too much.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I'm fine for making him look like a power lifter, but he looked like the largest human who's ever lived. Like and furthermore, there's always that joke of like, oh, how can no one tell that Clark Kent is Superman? It's like, oh, who's this Batman guy? Maybe the largest man who we've ever seen in Gotham City, Bruce Wayne. Because
and he's working enough jobs that he's going to be seen all over town.
Yeah, right.
He's like a construction crew guy over here, and he's working in the sewers over here, and he's working for the power district.
Star. Like his biceps were the size of my chest. It was it was to a point where it looked like Ed McGuinness drawing the Hulk. Like it was just too much. And then when we find out that his mom is still alive, I was like, oh, is that Selina Kyle? Because she's the same age as Bruce. Oh, what? That's his mom? No, it's not. My other kind of eye roll moment was that Bruce and his childhood friends just happened to be like the Riddler and Selena Kyle and I forget which all ones were there, but basically like everyone who grows up to be an important part of Batman's universe is him
at the same
like,
elementary school.
Yeah, not only same elementary school,
same class,
same friend group. It's like these 5 kids grew up to be Batman and his, 4 of his 5 worst villains. It's just like,
yeah,
that was a bridge a little too far for me. But I mean, I sound like I'm really shitting on this book, and I am, because that's what I do. Like, I like to point out the things that are so obviously improvable to me. But like, I did enjoy the ride. Like, it was not a bad issue. It was just plagued with things that I feel like could have been corrected easily.
Right. And I've been pretty like open about how much I don't like Scott as a writer. I struggle with his books being very like surface level, not a lot of layer, not a lot of depth. So I went in with massively, and I think I spoke to Daryl real briefly earlier. I went in with very low expectations for this, and I just think I saw the cover and I saw his name, and I was like, I'm not going to read this book. I'm not even going to go.
I made you read it because
and then you're like, let's do it, and I was like, okay, this is a good excuse for me to test my strength with him.
I think
I came away with it meeting my expectations, which is not a good sign.
I feel like these are the kinds of books that like are the gimmies for what we should talk about on the show, because it's like the biggest releases of the last month. Not that we always do that. A lot of times we do indie books, but I feel like it's kind of hard to ignore something that's the talk of the town like these are right now.
Oh, for sure. And TJ, that's the only thing of his that I liked, and it's not even the full run. It's the first 2 like trades, which is Court of Owls and then Night of Owls, I think is the second half of that, because the Court of Owls ends pretty dramatically with like the Talon leading all the villains out to take the city.
The back half of that run was
everybody forgets like year 0 or whatever it was, like
when
the Joker's got his face cut off and he's like
Gordon become Mecha Batman.
Yeah, all that's it derails quickly, and he doesn't get enough grief for how bad that run falls apart, versus somebody like Tom King, who gets a shit ton of grief for how his Batman run ended. Snyder and King's run for me are on the same paths, where they're just like weird highs and lows that it's a lot of confusing story threads left unfinished, and just
but to be fair to Scott Snyder, like, how many people, especially nowadays, are writing 52 issues of a series? Like, you're bound to have some ups and downs,
some clunkers.
But yeah, like,
those first 2 trades I definitely own and recommend, and those are good. He's
never been like that top tier writer for me that DC clearly thinks that he is, and so do a lot of people.
Image, and he gets a lot of play.
And honestly, like, this is one of those books where it makes me question if I'm just being an asshole, because everyone is talking about how much they love it. And am I too cynical to be able to sit down and just enjoy something for what it is?
And I question myself the same way. So I'm glad to know I'm on the same page. So either we've affected each other over the 6 years to make each other in the same brain.
I feel like
or we're right. I don't know.
Or we're right. I think it's option B.
So again, I didn't hate it, but I really didn't like it all that much. It certainly didn't make me interested to read another issue. And I'm glad I didn't buy it. I just, read it digitally. I'm glad I didn't spend any money on it. I do think, I know Daryl said, what was it? But they went out of their way to say he was non-lethal. Like that inconsistency is something that always irks me, where it's like either Batman is non-lethal or he isn't. Like either he is or he isn't. Like just pick a lane. And I think too many people want him to be dark. So they're like, he's non-lethal, but sure, he cuts guys' hands off, and maybe they'll make it to the ER and survive, or maybe they'll bleed out on the side of the street. He doesn't matter. He's not lethal. Like, no, he fucking killed that guy. That guy's dead.
Right. Non-lethal means you do things that won't possibly kill somebody. He is less lethal because he didn't murder the guy, but like, yeah, if he doesn't get help, that guy's gonna bleed out and die.
That guy is nobody's gonna take that guy to the ER. Nobody's walking that guy down to the doctor. He's gonna bleed out on the way.
Yeah. Promiscuous Time Traveler says question that with a lot of media, the expectation for it to be thought-provoking, and then I'm let down with the storytelling is one-dimensional. So something that I say ad nauseum on the show is the reason I'm so critical is because and this goes for film and TV as well. Like, people put so much time and effort into these things, and the fact that they let it be released when there's glaring things that could be improved upon so easily. Like, someone else read this script, or someone else saw the roughs for the design of Batman, and nobody said, maybe you should take him down 25 pounds. So that's one, like, I demand excellence, because if you don't, you are left with what you're served. And, you know, like if you order a steak medium rare and it comes and it's delivered to you well done, you're going to send that steak back, because like you are demanding excellence from the chef because you're paying for the meal. So if I'm paying for a comic, or I'm paying to see a movie, and it's just filled with farts, like, why am I not going to call that out?
Brother John, that's a fair point. Yeah.
I think people enjoyed it because it's over the top and cartoony. It felt like a comic book to me, not trying to be Batman, real world gritty. That's just me though.
And I felt like it didn't walk that line well, because it felt like they wanted it to be darker. They wanted it to be grittier.
Right. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of the conversation of.
So it didn't feel if they wanted it to be cartoony, it didn't feel cartoony enough. If they wanted it to be gritty enough, it certainly felt gritty, but like that they were laughing at the grittiness. So I felt like they couldn't pick a lane very well.
Right. I couldn't tell if they meant it to feel like a comic book. TJ.
But I also knew that instantly as I was finishing it that I was in the minority, because every single person I knew who read it was telling me to read it. They loved it and they wanted more of it. And I am and still exist in a Spider-Man Batman like blackout.
Binary.
I am not buying those books. I'm not interested in Spider-Man or Batman at this point. If there's a new Spider-Man or Batman book, I know that what's his Philadelphia the writer of Philadelphia has got a Batman book out with werewolves in it. That sounds right up my alley, but I'm trying to just steer clear of Spider-Man and Batman books. It's not Jason Sean Alexander. It's the writer. Oh my God, my brain.
I can't think of it.
So for me, like, I knew going in, this was not going to be for me. So that maybe that played into my thinking about it. I read it 2 times just to like get, now that I knew what they were doing, go back again. And it just, I like Philadelphia a ton, and I'm behind the Savage Dragon storyline, which I'm excited to get to, but I'm now waiting on the hardcovers to keep coming out. So I got the first 2 hardcovers.
I think I liked it a little bit more than you. I did put it on my pull list, but
okay.
I don't know if it's going to stay on there, but I wanted to give it a couple issues.
John, I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, a dude can get his hand cut off and not die, but
I mean, I've seen pirates with the hooks, right?
He said he could survive, but the fact that Batman, all he does is cut off the hand and say, "Good luck, dude." Like he doesn't even
Doctors can do a
right
lot
the
of
wound
good
forward.
things these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean that's fine if you want to make Batman a little more aggressive, do that, but then don't pretend that he's not.
I think I could have been
He's got a
interested.
goddamn axe on his chest.
I could have been interested if they were like really trying to explore a Batman as a barbarian concept.
Right. Just going into rage mode and just destroying.
And if they
everything
wanted
like
it to be either taken seriously or be a little over the top, they could have like picked a lane for that. But I don't think that's what I think. Instead, they tried to like have a foot on land and a foot in water at the same time, and it doesn't quite
right.
work. It's like I'm saying, those moments when he's doing acrobatics, and I'm like,
it's Snyder syndrome.
Yeah,
I can't tell.
For me, it works for both Snyders. It works for
yeah,
both.
exactly. Well, should we move on to Wonder Woman then?
Yes, because I liked that one a whole lot more. But
me too.
I probably gave the Batman book a 6 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah, I'm like a 7.5. Like again, I didn't not enjoy it.
Good night, John.
Thanks for hanging out.
Fair.
Is simply grounded, dark and gritty. Yeah. And again, like I enjoyed it and I enjoyed reading it and I enjoyed the ride. I wish it had leaned into the over the top a little bit more so that I knew that Scott Snyder knew what he's doing. And he very well may. Like my problem is not that I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm just saying I couldn't tell his intention on the page.
Sure.
Anyway, Absolute Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I liked it so much more.
Yeah. I think the concept here is not a Wonder Woman who grew up on the island of Themyscira and was raised by Amazonians. Instead, she was stolen away and grew up in hell and grew up among the demons and the evil gods of the underworld.
Right.
But still with her same abilities and still with her same sensibilities in a lot of ways, but with a very hardened, almost Big Barda-like edge.
Yeah, so this issue starts off with some sort of invasion of possibly alien invasion because there's like a ship, for lack of a better term. It's a big upside-down triangle that a bunch of dinosaur-looking things come out of.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman shows up with her giant-ass Final Fantasy sword to fight them off. And then it kind of jumps back to her origin, where Cersei is in hell by herself, and the god Apollo comes down with baby Diana and says, hey, this is yours now. Deal with it. We're not, and you can't say Amazon because we don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. So Cersei's like, well, I can just like ignore this baby and let it die, but it doesn't, and so she kind of starts mothering it, and she grows up to be Wonder Woman, and she innately knows about the fact that she's an Amazon somehow, and she keeps saying like, I want to say this word, but I don't really know what it means. And so finally she says it, and when Cersei tries to say it, she's like, she's like, what was that? It's all fuzzy. She's like, I've been banned from saying it. So Wonder Woman comes to Earth to kind of like lay her claim as being this badass defender of humanity against, I assume, the forces of these evil gods who have forsaken her.
Right.
And the issue ends with her looking pretty badass with some sort of lasso, but it's not the golden lasso.
It's like it's a red one, right? Yeah.
Well, it's like kind of purpley, but it looks like it was summoned rather than exist. It looks like some sort of magic.
I don't know, Ryan, how you know when we got to the magic lasso, the Wonder Woman.
I feel like he just sits in every live quietly until someone says Wonder Woman.
I'm there. It
But,
is Comic Head 84. He's here,
yeah,
man.
I
Comic
know,
Head is
it's been a
here.
long time. Missed that dude. I also greatly preferred the art in this. I thought the layouts were gorgeous. Some of the details in the in the just like backgrounds and stuff like that were really beautiful. And I much prefer this alternate design of Wonder Woman to the alternate design of Batman.
Yeah, I mean, on every level, this is a superior book. Story wise, I think it clicks a lot better. This iteration of Wonder Woman, while being different in a lot of important ways, still feels true to the character and still feels like relatable to the character, so that if you are picking it up, because I mean, I would hope you're familiar with and or appreciate Diana, you're going to be drawn back in. You'll be like, oh, this works. Like I appreciate what I'm getting out of this. And then, yeah, art wise, it's superior on all levels. Like the design of villains and characters, heroes, all are functional and interesting, and not like the same that you've seen before, and yet not also strangely, designed, proportioned, whatever, like the Batman book was. The fight sequences have great dynamic energy to them. I love her skeletal warhorse is really cool. Yeah. And her outfit, while different, is also very familiar and interesting.
Right.
And,
it feels like
they did a good job.
It feels like a reimagining of Wonder Woman, but it didn't feel like it was so far away that it was unrecognizable. Like the Batman, it makes sense that the symbol on his chest looks so dumb because it's actually an axe head, but it still looks dumb.
Yeah.
But
the fact that he has to put it together while fighting is hilarious to me.
Yeah. Also, I didn't understand the physics of that, because he just like grabs the handle and kind of just like sticks it in his chest, but somehow it connects to a stick.
I don't know. You do, Rod. You've got a copy signed. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
It's an IKEA axe, says John. Yeah, you got to put it together yourself.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the Swedish name for it. Yeah. Or was it Norwegian?
Yeah, I mean, this is a much less interesting conversation because I have less to critique about it.
Yeah, I mean, I still, am not like over the moon about it. I still felt like it was not life changing. I need to have
a 10 out of 10 for me, but
by comparison, it was like, I drank Drano and then I drank Punch, and I was like, oh, I like Punch.
I was excited about it.
Yeah. So I mean,
more so than I was about Batman. Batman, like I said, I enjoyed the ride well enough, but this I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm on board for this.
Okay. And I mean, I've been in a phase of appreciating Kelly Thompson of late. Yeah, so
doing some good stuff.
I had, prior to last year, probably hadn't been aware of ever reading any of stuff by her. And so, I caught up on her Black Widow last year, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And then the Birds of Prey that she's been doing. So there's been a lot more. She's been on my radar a lot more. So that was intriguing me, just to know that she was going to be on this one. And so that was at least comforting going in, feeling like, okay, if nothing else, I feel like she's got a good sense of these characters.
How long has that phase been going? At least as long as I've known you.
Better part of half a lifetime, maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of Johns in California. You guys got to watch out. There's a lot of Johns in this stream.
A lot of Johns everywhere.
It's fair. Unoriginal. I mean, we always need a few Johns in our house, at least.
Otherwise, yeah, I was gonna say. Really I was trying to come up with a joke about it being a shitter, but
I figured.
Yeah, it's kind of old hat. So I mean, overall, so far, like I'm enjoying what they're trying to do with the Absolute line. I didn't get Superman yet. I am going to read it. And Green Lantern, I think it's Green Lantern, Flash, and I think there's a sixth one that I'm forgetting.
I'm sure there'll be a Justice League in the end where they all
Yeah.
come together, right?
I just hope that they don't fuck it up. Because DC knows how to do that real well when they hit on something and then they just, oh, we have a new idea. Let's forget about this and
we're gonna scrap it and relaunch again next year.
Yep. Rebirth.
Yep.
Oh, Future State. Oh, All In. Oh.
Yeah.
He called the shit poo.
Yeah, so I had not planned on reading Superman, but more than likely we're going to probably discuss it at the end of at the beginning of December for a November book. So I'll probably read it just to be aware of it. I don't know what other ones are coming in this month. So I'll probably take a look at it. But I wasn't planning on buying it.
Is that based on the comic or is the comic based on the show? I don't know.
I don't know that I've heard of either one.
Well, it's a comic. So if you like the show, you should look into getting the comics. I've never read it, but I know people like it. So
TJ's in on it, Callie. It's a good guy to be following, for sure. So I would give the Wonder Woman maybe a 7.5, probably for me. Maybe an 8. I don't know.
I give it like an 8.9. Like it's not quite a 9 for me, but like I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
More so than I thought I would, especially after the Batman, where I'm like, okay, this is I see what they're doing here. They're doing kind of just silly alternate universe stuff, but I thought it was just a really solid Wonder Woman story.
Yeah. And the superior book. So if you're interested in the Absolute universe and don't know which one to try out of these two, and from what I'm hearing of Superman, Wonder Woman seems to be the winner.
Yeah, so far for sure. But I mean, they have put good, at least on paper, good creative teams on these books, so they're clearly trying to push it as being a thing, and so far so good. I mean, it's definitely like what is being talked about on the back issue market and on the readers market.
Yeah, and all the second prints and stuff that are selling out, and yeah, it's a hot commodity for sure.
Barely hear anything from Marvel right now. It's all about Absolute. So,
yep,
good on DC. Don't screw it up, because oh man, Rod, not necessary, but thank you for the super chat.
Appreciate it, sir. And hey, what's up, Jeff?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
Other than that, this last month, the big book for me was the finale to Nightwing, and Taylor's run on that I thought was really, really great. I thought it was a very effective ending. I probably liked the issue before it a little bit better. The two preceding issues I found really entertaining because Bruce Wayne dressed up as Nightwing, and I thought that was very funny. And it's funny because it looked like a bulkier Nightwing, kind of like we saw a bulkier Batman. But Redondo drew him really well, so that even when both Nightwings were talking,
everything really well.
Oh my god, right? So you'd have the two Nightwing. Spoiler: I bought a page of Nightwing from that issue where the two Nightwings are talking. One's Bruce and one's Dick, and it's just great. And the writing was so funny in the way they quipped. Bruce said something like, "The suit's a little tight." I tried quipping. just like the way he's like giving a report card to Dick on how he did pretending to be Nightwing for a short time. I thought it was very well done, and it was really true to my appreciation of those characters. And I guess back to our earlier point with Brother John, like it was the right tone of cartoony for me, because I never took Nightwing so seriously that I needed it to be dark and gritty. It always knew that it was a lighter Bat Family book. Mm-hmm. And even though it was family, Fast and the Furious family at the forefront, and it was always about Dick grieving over the loss of Alfred and trying to start a new life for himself and become a little bit more of his own man. I felt like it was still a fun, traditional comic. It felt like a classic, just fun comic book.
Yeah. For me, besides these two things, no surprise, probably the penultimate issue of The Deviant. That comic is just so damn good.
So I stopped reading it just because I was like, I just want to read it all in a trade. I think I missed just this most recent one.
Yeah.
And I can't decide. I probably just need to read it all, catch up, and then buy the trade and do both. But yeah, it's been a spectacular book. It's Tiny Tinian, right?
Yeah, unless they somehow drop the ball on the ending, which I can't imagine that he's going to, because the rest of it is so well considered and well crafted. It's just such a beautiful and horrible story that is really, as far as like mainstream comics goes, just really really beautiful.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I've been captivated by it. And that's partly why I wanted to wait, is because with indies I've noticed more and more, and I don't know if it's a function of this show, and I know we've talked a lot about indies being written for other mediums at this point.
Yeah,
it feels like I am just enjoying them as a reader more. My favorite way to, even though I've been buying a lot of omnis, my favorite way to read comics is in a trade. Like it's just a nice collected edition, even if it's those larger image hardcovers. It's just been a preferred way for me to devour these things.
Yeah.
And so when for stuff that I feel like I'm really into it, like I feel like I like to wait and to dive into it when it's finished. I don't know.
I mean, for me, I tend to agree with a lot of stuff. With books like this and Little Bird or Layla Starr, certain things where I'm like, I just want to read this as soon as I can, and then I'm going to buy the trade anyway and enjoy it all together. But
sure,
like I didn't want to wait a year and a half to finish this story because I just wanted my fix of it's always the top of my pile when it comes out, because it's just it's pretty flawless as far as I'm concerned. Like it hasn't really missed much of a beat for me.
It's funny because I'm the inverse. I save those kind of books for the bottom of the pile.
Because you want to make sure you have something.
I want to read through all that other stuff and then make sure I'm just like fully focused on just that.
You also read all of the books you buy, and I have 2 short boxes of books I still need to read. So I want, when I say top of my pile, it's the books that I make sure that I have time to read.
I've had the benefit of shrinking my pull list pretty dramatically this year, because I think I'm down to just Wonder Woman and Poison Ivy now, like that, and I guess Storm. Although they haven't had a second issue yet of Storm. Like I'm down to just 2 books.
Yeah, I have the blessing and curse of having an employee discount, so I buy more issues than I probably would otherwise.
That might be a problem. Yeah, I could see that.
Probably not. If I have, I fucked up.
Are you keeping up on Precious Metal as well, or are you like letting that one read it in chunks? What are you doing?
Yeah, because it's like so densely heavy as far as the plot and just the world. I'm waiting for. I'm going to read that all at once. I read the first issue, maybe the first 2, and I'm like, there's too much to digest to wait in between the issues.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I read issue 1. I knew I liked it, and it was kind of like, I'll just wait.
Yeah. So and like not to say that,
which is going to be tough, because in January we're going to be talking about our favorite books of the year, and it's like, do I have to go back? Do I read them all? What do I do here?
I mean, and that's not a knock on it in any way. It's just
no.
the fact that like
It's almost a compliment.
yeah, I want to be able to really experience all of the detail and not miss anything that I maybe would otherwise if I'm waiting 5 weeks or whatever in between each issue.
All the little connective tissue is a lot clearer too for me.
Yeah. Well, got anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, no, I think that was all the issues of the stuff that I've been reading. I've got to catch up on Poison Ivy. I'm a few issues behind on that. Wonder Woman has continued to be strong. I don't want to. I mean, I've only got 2 books on my pull list.
Yeah, obviously.
Again, I'm not counting Storm yet because I don't know. It's sort of a month to month. Do I want to keep
Right,
reading it kind of book?
Cali Comics. It's Ian Bertram did the artwork.
But the latest issue of Wonder Woman was especially strong. They came off of the DC All In 2 issues or whatever that they were the tie-ins. Maybe it was 3, which weren't bad. They weren't horrible. They just weren't King being able to do what he wanted.
Yeah.
This issue, though, is basically an entire issue about the grieving process of her dealing with a very significant death and what it spurns her to do at the end. And I thought it was beautiful. It was a really, really well handled issue. So it continues to be probably I would say the best book at the big 2, bar none for me.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. And you can skip, I think it's issues 11, 12, 13 if you really want to, because they're just those tie-in issues. But they're not bad. They're not throwaway issues. I know a lot of big 2 titles when the crossovers come can be dreadful, but King handled it with aplomb and it worked. Those 3 issues worked just fine. They were, I'm glad I read them all in one big chunk and wasn't reading them every month. I might have gotten frustrated, but I saved them up and just kind of read all of them and then quickly moved on to issue 14, which is King returning with the big dramatic story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was absolutely the right way to go.
Nice. Got anything to plug? Anything to promote?
Actually I do. Saturday night, evening, a friend reached out and said that they were doing a charity auction of original art from community artists and up and coming artists, all to benefit Mission 22, the Till Valhalla project for veterans, mental health awareness, and all of these great causes. It's called Heroes for Heroes, and they lost the channel that was going to host for them. Something came up for the person that was going to host the event for them, and they reached out and they said, "Would you be willing to do it this Saturday?" So I'm going to be hosting a 4-hour telethon thing on my channel. You'll start to hear more about it tomorrow as I set up the stream and but I just got the info last night. They reached out, some friends. They knew that I was, consistently buying stuff from Mission 22 to support veterans and mental health, specifically mental health services for veterans, the 22 veterans we lose every day. So when they reached out and said, "Hey, we've got people like Actual Dracula, really great artists in our community who've been drawing pieces and will come on live and finish drawing pieces and then they'll auction them off." They've got a whole slew of artists set up, and then they've got pieces that they've been gifted from other artists, comic artists, to give away as we'll sell them, and then the money all goes to Mission 22. So I will be doing that on my channel. I think it's 4:00 my time, or 7 o'clock Eastern, tomorrow night. Saturday night. Saturday.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So be there or be square.
Yeah. If you want some original art for a really great price and to know that the money all goes to charity, it's a phenomenal win-win-win. And you'll see great community members like Actual Dracula and other folks who do really great artwork and will be giving it away.
Very cool. We've got D&D on my channel, on this channel, Sunday nights. Last week we left on a cliffhanger with JP's character being carried away by a rock, which is a giant bird.
Correct. Okay.
So we'll see if he survives or if any of them survive, because they just had a big fight. Oh, a kitty cat.
Caught a cat. She was running through. I know you're not happy.
So hang out for that if you have nothing to do on a Sunday night. We have some laughs sometimes.
It was a lot of fun. This was a really fun episode. This last one too.
Cool. Well, I guess we should wrap things up on that
Yeah.
note. Bye, Katie. Obviously, you know, things are very tense right now for a lot of people. So if you need someone to bullshit with, send me a message on IG and we can either commiserate or talk about something totally else and get our minds off it.
Talk about comics and TV and movies and whatever else.
I like other things besides comics too. So, you know, we are a community and we're here for each other. So don't hesitate. And yes, rage. But, you know, I don't want to say too much or I'm going to get my channel taken down by the president. So
Not yet.
Never turn your back on democracy. Okay, bye.